we'll be going over IRS Notice CP103. This is the tax notice that the Internal Revenue Service may send you if they've made adjustments to IRS Form CT-1 for a certain tax period. So let's take a quick look at what Form CT-1 looks like. It is the employer's annual railroad retirement tax return. So for most employees that participate in Social Security, this is a very similar thing constructed specifically for railroad employers. So most taxpayers fall under the Social Security Act. However, there is a part of the Internal Revenue Code that specifically addresses railroad retirement. The numbers look very similar. All of the calculations are very similar. They are two separate systems. So if you are an employer that files this and you receive IRS Notice CP103, the Internal Revenue Service is informing you that they believe you made a mistake on your return at some point. So let's take a quick look at the top of the form. In the top right corner is the notice number, CP103, the tax period, which happens to be December 30, the period that ended December 31st, 2016. There's a notice date as of February 5th, 2018, with the employer ID number and a contact phone number for you to reach the IRS. Over on the left-hand side of the form is the taxpayer name and address. So I'm going to take a moment real quick and point out two things that I always do in these videos. The first is you should pay attention to the notice date because there may be action items that are due within a certain period of time out of respect of that notice date. So in this notice, they put certain action items that are due by a calendar date. However, there have been notices that I've seen where it will say something like, please respond within 30 days of the notice date, or please provide supporting documentation within 60 days. So the fact that they specify dates on here is a good thing. However, you should still pay attention to the notice date. The second thing that I always advise people is to make sure that your address is up to date with the Internal Revenue Service. So if you just recently filed your tax return, this shouldn't be a problem because the IRS will update your tax record with any new address information based on what you filed in your most recent tax return. However, if you've changed addresses since filing your tax return, you should strongly consider filing either IRS Form 8822 or IRS Form 8822B, which is the change of address form. We'll put links in the show notes to the articles and the videos that we have about those tax forms. But this will also ensure that you spend as little time as possible with your mail influx. If the IRS does send correspondence, you'll get it more quickly than if you don't update your address. And that could mean the difference of thousands of dollars, as we'll walk through in this case. So over here on the left-hand side, the IRS says that there's something with tax deposits. So as a result, their adjustments resulted in an additional tax of $6,161.05. And this breaks down based on the tax that you owe minus the payments that you made. And then there are failure to pay penalties. There's a failure to make a proper federal tax deposit penalty, and then interest charges on top of all of it. So your requested action item from the IRS is twofold. You can pay the unpaid tax of $5,321.82 by February 15th, which happens to be 10 days after the notice date. This doesn't pay your full balance. You still have penalties and interest. However, you would stop accruing interest and penalties on that unpaid tax. The full balance of 6161 is due within 3 weeks of that notice date, and that's the only way that you can completely stop interest and penalties from accruing. So if you want to submit your payment by mail, you can cut this payment voucher out, follow the instructions by making your check or your money order payable to the United States Treasury, write down your tax ID number, the tax period, and the form number on your check or your money order, and send it to the address listed here. Again, there are some additional options. You can call to, or you can pay online. You can call to discuss your payment options if you can't pay the full amount. You may discuss options such as creating an installment plan, things of that nature. You can call the 800 number if you think that the IRS made a mistake. You can discuss your payment history, your payment information. So you should have that your records and a copy of your tax return available so you can discuss that with the IRS employee. So if you don't pay that tax, they'll continue charging penalties. And down here, there is additional information about how those penalties are calculated. So really quickly, if you want to change your contact information, you can always file IRS Form 8822 or 22B. Here's a slip that you can also send. Don't do both. If you don't respond, the IRS is just going to keep assessing penalties and interest. So the rationale is they found an error based on the total deposits for the quarter and any overpayments from the previous quarter. So this is the breakdown of the difference of your total tax deposits. And then this is the record that the IRS has. So before you call the IRS to discuss this, you should probably take a closer look at your records to make sure that there's something worth discussing. There's a breakdown of the failure to pay penalty, 0.5% per month or for each part of a month that a balance remains unpaid. On the next, there's a failure to pay property federal tax deposit, which is a 10% penalty rate based on the unpaid amount. And then you can request that your penalties be removed or reduced if there are certain circumstances, such as a natural disaster or other extenuating circumstances that you would want the IRS to consider. You can also have penalties removed if you requested specific written advice from the IRS with complete accurate information. You received written advice that you relied upon and you still got to set a penalty. You can file IRS Form 843 and request an abatement of your penalties. The next page goes into detail about how your interest is calculated. And this is based on the Internal Revenue Code. Interest rates can change over time. The IRS has little discretion on interest. However, if you do have penalties abated or waived, then the IRS should go back and remove the interest on those abated penalties. So interest can accrue in some cases from the date of notification for certain penalties, like a failure to file or a failure to pay. It starts from the due date. So this is the breakdown of how all of that interest was calculated. So there's additional information. We're going to go ahead and select. We're going to just click this link to go to the IRS website, and it walks you through some frequently asked questions, some tax tips, some helpful information, and we'll go ahead and put links in the show notes to the resources we've created about some of these tax forms and such. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or if there's a topic that you'd like to see discussed in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comment section. Thank you very much and have a great day.